We have a guest in studio. This may be one of the longest or I'm going to try not to mess this up, okay? So bear with me.
Okay.
So Dr. Martin Johnson is the dean of the LSU Manship School of Mass Communication. Did I get that right?
That's right. You can, in fact, call me Dean Martin. That's fine.
I have been looking forward.
You can call me Martin.
A political expert will be in town November 6th, i.e. today, to speak to the Shreveport Rotary Club about the midterm elections, etc. I don't want to spill all your beans or take away the thunder, but what are you going to talk to these guys about?
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about a number of different things, including the Cook Political Report Manship School survey that we conducted for the midterm election cycle to really try to understand these highly competitive districts.
Is that the one that said, like, the Dems going to win the House and it's a shoe-in and like 75 seats or 40 seats and a 75% chance or something like that?
Not quite, no. I mean, we are definitely picking up that same kind of blue wave narrative that you're hearing in a lot of folks, and in fact have better data on that because we did focus on those 72 competitive districts. However, anybody that tells you that it's a shoe-in is not reporting the data correctly. We had a 9% margin of error, which means we could see anything from a much stronger blue wave than our data shows to a pretty tight race when it all comes down this evening.
Going back a couple of years, what did your group, what did this say about the presidency? How much did you think Hillary was going to win by?
That's a great question. We didn't do a survey like this in 2016.
Really?
So yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. If 2016 didn't kill political prognostication, nothing will.
Why?
Why did they get it wrong in 2016?
Why did it go wrong in 2016? Why does polling seem to be, for pollsters, is it so difficult to get things right more and more and more over the last few years?
Well, I think, that's a great question. I mean, first of all, it's important to recognize, what are you going to compare polling to? Are you going to compare polling to finger in the wind? I mean, polling's going to outperform guessing. It's based on data. It's based on talking to people. It's based on going out and trying to collect evidence. That said, a lot of pollsters do things like big national surveys that don't take account of geography. So the polls in 2016 actually did a pretty good job of predicting the popular vote, but it did a really bad job with the Electoral College because of the way surveys are designed. They don't necessarily do state-by-state surveys. Those are incredibly expensive to do. So big national surveys got the popular vote, but didn't get the Electoral College. In 2016, by looking at these competitive districts, we're not really dealing with the Electoral College, first of all, and second of all, we are trying to take into account geography. That's why we oversampled these particular districts.
Louisiana's congressional race is not on the radar. It looks like they're all kind of settled.
Yeah, well, it's Louisiana's a pretty non-competitive state when it comes to Congress, and we don't have a Senate election on the ballot this year. All of our incumbent House members are pretty popular in their districts and some face competition, some face really non-competition, even though there might be somebody else on the ballot. So yeah, it's not necessarily not on the radar. It's important to, I think, a lot of constituents to, be able to talk with their representatives and participate in the election season. But you're right, it's not the same kind of competition we're seeing in other parts of the country.
We're getting a lot of the spillover from Texas, obviously, where we are in our market. Do you expect a surprise there? A lot of folks are saying Cruz will hold on to his seat. Could we see a surprise there?
You hear it both ways, right? You hear Cruz is going to hold on. You hear Beto's going to surprise everybody. It's an awfully, awfully close race. And like everything else in this season, turnout is the thing that matters. I mean, it's going to be a really popular election. We're going to have higher midterm turnout than we usually see. And who actually shows up at the polls is ultimately going to determine everything.
And we were talking about this with Louis Avalone and R.J. Johnson from the Caddo Democrat and Republican parties, or GOP and Democrat parties last hour. Is there issues-wise, candidates-wise, is there more and more, not only across Louisiana but across the country, more of a demographic split, that chasm I was talking about between millennials and the old people who still are running crap into the ground?
Well, sure. I mean, we've got a changing electorate. We've got an aging electorate, and we do have a lot of young voters that are getting turned out this season. It kind of remains to be seen whether that's the big fisher. The big fisher continues to be, I think, the partisan one.
There's an old political truism. Well, you can tell me whether it's true or not. A candidate who depends on the youth to win is called a loser. Is that still the case electorally across the country?
I mean, I think the softer way to put it is that older people are more reliable voters than younger people. I think we're going to see a lot of young turnout this election. So, for example, we have a great student organization at LSU called Go Vote that one of our students in the Manship School is the leader of. They registered to vote 2,000 LSU students this season. Now, LSU student voters are going to break more Republican probably than a lot of college campus voters. So that doesn't really necessarily say anything about the partisan composition of, the electorate in Baton Rouge. But it does say something about the enthusiasm of young people for this election. I think we're going to see higher than average midterm turnout for everybody, including young people.